used to work nights, so by the time I'd get home, it would be after midnight. I had this routine where I'd flip on the TV just to fill the silence while I ate dinner. Usually it was mindless late-night reruns or infomercials. But one night, at exactly 3 a.m., I landed on a channel that shouldn't have existed. The number didn't even make sense. It read 000. No network logo, no guide description. Just a live feed of a room. At first, I thought it was some kind of reality show. A living room, dimly lit. A couch. A coffee table. And then I realized my blood turned to ice. It was my living room. The same couch. The same coffee table. Even the plate of half-eaten food I'd left sitting out earlier that night. I stared at the screen, confused, heart hammering. And then text appeared across the bottom of the broadcast, white against the grainy image. 0:59. Ticked down to 0:58, then 0:57. A countdown. I dropped the remote, panic flooding my chest. My eyes darted from the screen to my actual living room. It looked normal, empty, but on the TV, the camera angle was fixed in the corner of the ceiling, showing everything. Watching everything. I backed away. My mind raced. Who was filming me? How? When the timer hit 0:30, I swear I heard movement. A shuffle in the kitchen. A floorboard creak that didn't belong to me. On the screen, the countdown continued. 00:20, 00:19, 0:18. And then the camera angle shifted. I hadn't touched anything, but suddenly the feed zoomed closer to the hallway that led to my bedroom. On the screen, in the darkness of that hall, a figure moved. Tall, still, waiting, couldn't breathe. I stumbled toward the front door, keys clattering in my hands. Behind me, the countdown screamed toward 0. 00:10, 00:09, 0:08. By the time I got the door unlocked, my ears were ringing with the sound of my own pulse. 00:03, 00:02, 0:01. I bolted outside, barefoot, sprinting down the street. I didn't stop until I reached the all-night gas station half a mile away. When I told the clerk what happened, he looked at me like I was insane. When I dragged police back later, the TV was off. The living room was empty. No sign of any camera. They told me I was overtired, maybe hallucinating. They left shaking their heads. I tried to convince myself they were right. But that night, crashing on a friend's couch, I woke again at 3 a.m. The sound of static filled the room. Their TV flickered to life on its own. The screen showed my friend's living room. Same couch, same table, and me lying there asleep. The countdown was back. 0:59. I sat up, trembling, watching the numbers sink. 00:45. 00:44. My friend stirred beside me, muttering in his sleep. On the TV, he stirred at the exact same moment. Only in the feed, he didn't lie back down. He sat up, turned, and stared directly into the camera. 00:30, 00:29, 0:28. My friend was still snoring beside me, but on the screen, his double was awake. His eyes were wide, fixed on me, and then slowly he smiled. I pulled the plug. The screen went black, but when I turned to wake my friend, his eyes were already open, and he was smiling. It was just after 3 a.m. when I woke to a faint hiss of static. The kind of sound you don't really notice at first, like wind sneaking through a cracked window. I was on the couch, half asleep, neck stiff, the glow of the television pulsing against the wall. The strange part was, I didn't remember turning it on. I live alone. No roommates, no pets, no reason for the TV to hum quietly to itself in the middle of the night. Yet there it was, alive with gray and white snow. And the sound wasn't the normal mindless fuzz of a dead channel. No, this hiss had shape. It was softer, almost whispery, like words too faint to catch, slipping just under the edge of hearing. I sat up, rubbing my eyes, staring at the screen. The static shifted, not randomly, not in the usual chaotic fizz. It was like an unseen hand was stirring it, guiding the blur, and then something formed. At first, it was just a darker patch in the fuzz, a shadow that held its shape when everything else swirled. Slowly, steadily, it sharpened into features. 2 hollow eyes, a crooked nose, and then a mouth. Wide, too wide. It was a face. The static didn't look like a picture anymore. It looked like a mask pressed against glass, desperate to push through. My whole body went cold. I couldn't move, couldn't breathe. I just sat there, heart thundering in my ears, watching this face made of static change before my eyes. The mouth began to twitch, jerk, forming words. No sound came out, but somehow I knew. It was my name. The letters crawled across that warped mouth like something alive. The way the lips moved made it unmistakable, and even though no sound escaped, I swear I felt the syllables vibrating inside my chest, as if my body recognized them before my ears did. I scrambled to my feet, adrenaline tearing through me, and yanked the cord from the wall. The screen died instantly. Black. The silence that followed was louder than the static. My ears rang with it. I stood there in the dark, chest heaving, trying to convince myself it was nothing. Just a dream. Just exhaustion playing tricks. And then, light. The unplugged screen flickered back to life. Static spilled across the glass once more. But now the face was no longer faint, no longer far. It filled the entire screen, pressed too close. Its warped features strained against the surface as though it might break through. The mouth stretched wider, impossibly wide, grinning so far it looked like the edges of its face might tear. And this time there was a voice. Low, raspy, familiar. It was my name, spoken again, but this time in my own voice. The sound rattled through the room like gravel in a jar. I stumbled backward, crashing into the coffee table, knocking a stack of old magazines and a half-empty glass of water onto the carpet. The glass rolled, dribbling a dark stain into the fibers. I didn't even notice until later. The voice echoed, over and over. My name, each time louder, each time more distorted, each time closer to a scream. And then, silence. The screen went black. For good this time. I didn't move until dawn. Lights on, muscles locked, every nerve wound tight like wire. When the sun rose, the TV still sat there, blank, quiet, innocent. I didn't touch it, didn't even look at it for long. That night, I told myself I'd sleep in my bedroom, that I'd leave the TV alone, that nothing could happen if I just ignored it. But at exactly 3:12 a.m., my phone lit up. No call, no message, no alarm. The screen just flickered awake by itself. And on it, static, the same whispering fuzz as the night before. My stomach dropped. I picked it up with shaking hands. In the center of the grain, the face returned. The same warped grin, the same hollow eyes, and its mouth moved again. Slow, deliberate, mouthing my name. I dropped the phone onto the couch as if it burned. The screen stayed on, the static face watching me until the battery died hours later. Now it happens every night. Always the same time, 3:12 on the dot. The TV is unplugged. The phone is set to silent. Doesn't matter. The static comes back. The face comes back. And each night it looks clearer, closer. That grin grows sharper. The eyes dig deeper. The first nights it was vague, like a sketch in the grain. But lately I see details, lines, textures. I swear I can make out stubble on its jaw that matches mine. And the mouth is learning. The twist. At first it mouthed my name. Then it whispered it. Then it said it outright. Now, when it speaks, it doesn't sound like static anymore. It doesn't even sound distorted. It sounds exactly like me. Each night, clearer, stronger, repeating my name over and over until it feels less like a word and more like a rehearsal, like a voice practicing, like a voice preparing to replace me. Sometimes it doesn't even say my name anymore. Sometimes it just laughs, my laugh, but stretched, broken, wrong, ending. I haven't watched TV in weeks. I keep my phone turned off. Sometimes I leave it in the car, just to be sure. But it doesn't matter. At 3:12, something always flickers back to life. The static, the face, the grin, and the voice. Each night it sounds less like static and more like me. And I'm starting to wonder, when the voice finally sounds perfect, when it becomes indistinguishable from mine, what happens to me? Because last night, before the screen went black, I heard one last phrase. Not my name, just two words. In my voice, whispered from the static. Switch soon. I don't watch the news anymore. Not because I'm tired of politics. Not because the world is too grim. I stopped because of one night at exactly 3 in the morning when I found a channel that didn't exist. A channel with a news anchor who looked straight through the glass, straight at me. And she told me things no one on TV should ever know. It was the middle of winter, and I'd fallen asleep on the couch with the TV on, like I often did. The house felt less empty that way. At around 3:05, I woke up. The room glowed that aquarium blue TVs make when everything else is dark. I started flipping channels out of habit, infomercial, rerun, static. And then I landed on something that froze me. A news broadcast. Not my local station. Not anything I recognized. Just a woman at a desk. Mid-30s maybe. Hair pinned back. Blazer neat. No logo. No scrolling banner. Just her and a stack of papers in a silent studio. At first I thought it was a technical glitch, the audio feed must be dead. But the picture was too sharp, too clear. The background screen behind her wasn't a graphic. It moved slightly, like water disturbed by something just below the surface. And then she looked up, not at a teleprompter, not off to the side, right at the camera, right at me. Her lips moved. There was no sound, but the words were plain enough to read. Help me, please, don't run. I froze. My thumb hovered over the power button, but I couldn't press it. My name left her mouth next. Slow, careful. My name, shaped wrong on a stranger's lips. The blue glow in the background rippled deeper. I swear I saw a shadow pressing outward, like a face pushing against thin glass. She mouthed something again. Don't answer. No matter what you hear, don't answer the knock. The second she formed the word knock, I heard it. 3 taps, polite, at my front door. The sound wasn't loud, but it rattled me more than any bang would have. My chest clenched. I couldn't move. I just sat there, staring at her, my ears straining. She shook her head slowly, as if begging me not to get up. Another knock, 2 this time, short, patient. I grabbed the remote, hands trembling, and flipped the channel. Black screen. Flip again. Cooking show. Flip back. The anchor was gone. Her chair was empty. The desk sat perfectly neat, the stack of papers untouched. But on the screen behind it, the rippling blue had grown darker, almost black. Something pale pressed near the surface, sliding across it like a handprint. My heart pounded so hard I thought it might break ribs. And then, blink, the feed returned. She was back in her chair, closer now. The camera zoomed tight on her face. Mascara streaked beneath one eye. Her hands shook against the papers. Her lips shaped new words. "He's in your house." I bolted upright, scanning the hall. Shadows stretched long, but nothing moved. The fridge motor kicked on and nearly sent me through the ceiling. On screen, she stared harder, eyes wide, lips trembling. She mouthed one last thing. "You can stop this by leaving, but don't open the door." The remote slipped from my hand. My skin crawled cold. How do you leave without opening a door? Before I could decide, the screen cut again. No transition, just blink. Now it showed a different camera angle. A long hallway, pale green walls, flickering lights overhead. Doors lined both sides. It looked like a hospital corridor, but drowned, water damage up to the handles. One door had a paper taped where the nameplate should be. It was blank at first, then letters burned across it, sharp and black. My name. The picture jolted back to her. She leaned forward, close enough that her face nearly filled the glass. Her mouth shook as she whispered one last phrase. This time I heard it, though the speakers stayed dead. The sound came from the seams of the room itself, from the window cracks and the vent. "If you keep watching, you'll be me." I didn't breathe, didn't blink, just stared until finally, mercifully, the screen went black. I yanked the plug, sat in silence until daylight painted the walls gray. The next night, I turned the TV around to face the wall. Didn't matter. At exactly 3 a.m., my phone buzzed on the table. A video message, 10 seconds long. I pressed play with shaking hands. It showed the same desk, the same woman, her eyes red, lips trembling. She pointed off screen, then down. Behind her, the blue shimmer bulged like something was pressing hard against it. The clip ended, restarted on its own, looping. And then, just like she promised, the knocking came again. 3 taps. Pause. 2 more. Closer than before. That was the last time I ever watched the news. But sometimes, at 3 in the morning, my phone still flickers to life. And in the static glow, I see her face, mouthing my name, waiting for me to take her place.